Welcome to the fight game. He's Icewater, I'm Puma, and do us a favor. Like, comment, and subscribe to our page. People know us as the Gap Brothers, so the Gap Brothers are back reviewing the fights. All right. Shakur fought last night, and I thought he had to prove a point last night. And he wasn't the guy that we saw in previous fights where kind of running and keeping his distance. He was in the pocket, fought for 12 rounds, got the unanimous decision. And he had a lot to say after the fight about proving his doubters wrong. So what are your thoughts about the fight?
One of the main things for Shakur Stevenson was to show the world that he is as great as he claims to be. And a lot of people, critics and whatnot, said he runs. They talked about moving the ring, making the ring smaller, because it's more or less like a Tom and Jerry type atmosphere where he's running. And in this particular fight, I think he wanted to prove to everyone that since Zepeda was a guy that is nonstop, throws a lot of punches, full of volume, punches that he throws is coming straight forward, that he can handle it. And not only could he handle dealing with this type of guy, but he wasn't going to run from him. And when you watch the fight, I think that's what we saw. Zepeda was coming in, he throws volumes of punches, throws so many punches per round. And early on, you can see that happening. One of the main issues that Shakur, if he did have one at all, is the factor that he was putting himself in the corner and letting Zepeda come up on him and trying to block him and use the shoulder roll. But unfortunately, Zepeda had some punches that were getting through. And the point of it being that Shakur's corner told him to get out and what they call roll. So you roll out the shoulder roll, but even Terrence Crawford told him, turn him and twist him and turn. So you make a shot and then you turn your body away, put yourself in a different position. But with all that being said, it was clear that Shakur was not running. He stood there, he took some punches. He got clipped in the third round, kind of wobbled a little bit. He's like, uh-oh. And everybody was looking for him to see how he would handle it. But what he ended up doing was going to the body, hitting Zepeda in the body, using combinations, went to uppercuts, and he literally put on what I say a masterful boxing clinic versus one of the top fighters in that division, one of the top fighters, and a hard-hitting guy. And I think Shakur just wanted to show the world what he was capable of. And to think about it from this standpoint, on this point, that Zepeda was relentless in his attack. But what we found out later on, when you look at the stats, that he had to throw almost double what Shakur was throwing volume-wise in order to land the same amount of punches that Shakur was landing.
My question is he took a lot of punishment last night, Shakur, I'm speaking of. And do you see him continuing fighting like this to prove to everybody that, hey, I'm a guy that can stay in there with the best of them, and I'm not a runner, I'm not a track star? Or do you see him kind of going back to the regular scheduled programming that we've seen in the last few years?
That's a great question. I want to say this. I think it's going to be now, since he proved himself, on a fight-by-fight or case-by-case basis. We've seen now that he doesn't have to run. He can fight. He no longer has to prove he's a man, if you will, in the ring. Okay. He doesn't have to show that macho stigma thing there. Men don't run, all the other crap like they like to say, and they want to see more knockouts and not so much finesse. I don't think that he needs to prove that anymore, but I also think that he says, you know what? I want to let the fight dictate the style of the fight. My opponent going to dictate what I do. So to answer your question, I don't think he's going to come in doing what he did last night the same way, standing in there, maybe taking chances, getting hit more than usual. I think he will still go back a little bit to his ability to elude punches. And I think that's what pisses people off, because I call what we say the Mayweather rule or the Mayweather factor, where you're able to make so-called great fighters look ordinary.
Ordinary, yes.
And that pisses people off because they go, this dude knocked this guy out and did all these other things. but it's not the fault of the boxer that has that style if they make your guy look ordinary. But I think he says, look, you want to be entertained? I'm gonna take a chance because literally when you saw how he fought last night, there at times he's still right in front of Zepeda, and Zepeda couldn't hit him
Right.
in the latter rounds. So you look at it from about 5, 6 round on, it was all Shakur.
Yeah, he took over the second half of the fight, no doubt, no doubt whatsoever. And it seemed like he didn't want to. It's almost like he didn't want the fight to end. He wanted to showcase because that was one of the best performances. And everybody's saying that they've seen in him, and it's almost like he didn't want it to end. And he wanted to showcase so much to shut his critics down.
No doubt, I agree with that. And I think what you saw, for me anyway, from round 6 on, maybe five a little bit too, but round 6 on, you can see his superiority as a boxer, his IQ against a damn good fighter in Zepeda. You could just see there was a difference in his class. It's like he rose up and he started putting things together and showing you that I'm about to outclass this guy. For
Yeah,
all you guys that are thinking that I wasn't that good, I couldn't hang in the pocket, it's kind of like, and I don't want to compare them too much, but I'm going to throw this in there. When Floyd Mayweather fought Miguel Cotto,
yeah. That's a good comparison. Yeah,
and everybody kept saying that Floyd was going to run. Floyd's like, nah, I'm going to stick with him. And when you notice was Floyd took more punishment, but he was beating Cotto at his own game. And with that being said, I kind of saw Shakur doing that too. You kept talking about the volume of punches, and he said, okay, I'm going to outclass this guy and show you I can beat him at his own game. But the one thing Floyd did a little different was the fact that when you got late in the rounds, you got to like round 11, that Floyd went back to his original style and started tagging Cotto so much, and he all stunned him. It's like, I could have knocked him out if I'd have done my regular stuff.
yeah. So that was a great comparison. Great comparison. I mean, that's why you were you. Uh, and they're already talking about Tank and Shakira, and Tank got some other business he needs to take care of outside the ring. We'll talk about that another time, another show. But the main card on the fight last night was Barlinga and Shiraz, and I was really surprised at this one. And when I watched the fight, you can see Barlinga trying to cut the distance. They were stepping on each other's feet, and you saw what he was trying to do, get in it. But as soon as he got the distance that he pretty much wanted to get inside to punch, it was right in Shiraz's wheelhouse. And Shiraz put them hands on him, and the fight was over in the fourth round, bro. And I don't mean to laugh, but he really put them paws on him. And maybe he was upset about the draw that he had in his previous fight. And we talked about it offline in the middleweight division. And he put them paws on Barlinga. And Barlinga, to me, is one of those throwback fighters that, has the boxing skills, but he likes to knock people out. I mean, he's known for knocking people out. And it wasn't in the cards last night. And Shiraz is talking about Canelo, like, bring on Canelo. After this fight, bring him on. I'm ready for this because he has an axe to grind at this particular point.
No, I get that. I think from the standpoint of Berlanga, he's a hardcore, brash New York type guy with an ego. And, all from New York and all of the style was the chains and telling Oscar De La Hoya, calling him all kind of names. And he's going to say, I
Stripper, right?
want yeah, calling him my stripper. So it's like, come on, my stripper. So he was doing a lot of talking and wanting to get tough and that tough bravado coming across. But at the end of the day, you still got to get in the ring. Toughness like that and big tough guy doesn't all macho. Mr. Macho doesn't always win the fight. But I think when you saw with Shiraz, he came in ready to fight. As you mentioned, the fight he struggled in, he was at middleweight. So he moves up to super middle to take on Berlanga, right? And the other thing too, people must understand, and to me, it's like horse racing. You got to understand the camps and who's in the corners and all the other stuff goes a long way. And if you really go back and look at it, you see Shiraz, he's trained by Andy Lee, who was a tough guy back in his own right. And Andy Lee, for you guys that don't, if you don't, are not familiar, he fought under Emmanuel Stewart in the Crank Gym. So all of the stuff, so you think about it, I'm just keeping it 100, just being politically correct, not trying to be funny like it matters in regards to race. But in order to be a person that is not of color, of hue, and to be at the Crank Gym in Detroit,
Yeah.
you have to be a bad mother, okay? And Andy Lee was one of those guys, besides you think about the Klitschko's, when Emmanuel Stewart took you on,
Yeah.
you were not of, we think about Thomas Hearns, we can go down the line. If you were not of color, because he did not discriminate, he just worked with whomever. But he just didn't work with guys that were not ready. So Andy Lee came through that gym and was able to go through the Detroit Quank gym. And afterwards, he also learned under Emmanuel Stewart and became the trainer it is today. And with that being said, Shiraz is now working under Andy Lee. So that toughness, and when you understand how they fight, I'm not surprised. It's like you ran your mouth, we come here to fight.
Yeah.
All that talking, you can say whatever, but I moved up, I took you down, I beat you down the Kronk way. So you think about the Milt McCoys, right? Think about Thomas Hearns, except for special situations where he was knocking folks out, knocking out guys like Rapino Cuevas.
Putting
His,
hands on
that
people. Putting hands
that
on
that
people.
that fight, that fight right there, that was in true Kronk style.
Yeah.
Okay, that when you saw that, you're like, damn, is that Kronk?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Only thing he was missing was the gold shorts with the red lettering.
And when I saw it, it reminded me of Tommy Hearns. How Tommy Hearns, once he got to put them hands on you, put them paws on you, you're done.
Yeah,
You were done. You
yeah,
weren't superhuman. You were pretty much out of there. So
yeah,
yeah, kudos to
yeah.
him.
When you think about it, you think about that style. I said, damn, I mean, you think about it. I said, that's Kronk right there.
Yeah, yeah. And he wasn't on my radar, but last night, oh yeah, he's on my radar. He's on my radar now because he put them hands on Berlinga, and I was surprised because Berlinga's pretty tough, and he's a
Yeah,
knockout artist. And I'm like, you go down in the fourth round. I mean, you go down like three times, and the ref was like, okay, that's it. You can't. It was no coming back. It was no coming back. Friday night we had some boxing, and you had Taylor and Serrano for the third time, and it seemed like Serrano came in with a different game plan, but I was texting you during the fight. I was like, nah, it's not working because she wasn't producing enough offense and enough to win that particular fight. It's very clear to me the two ladies did not want those previous two bangers. They didn't want to walk away hurt like they were in the last two fights. And Taylor was like, hey, I don't want to fight her again. I don't want to fight her again. This is it. This is trilogy. I think fighters should fight three times. That's it. A la Tyson Fury. You only get three, bro. You only get three. But your thoughts on that fight, man?
great anticipation for this fight, the trilogy, because we always had a lot of confusion or people had their own opinions where they thought some people thought Serrano won the two previous fights,
Yeah.
but Taylor received the decisions in both of those fights. So this was another opportunity, perhaps the last opportunity for Serrano to win. And I think so. Serrano, bless her heart, I'll say this because we know Katie Taylor won. Serrano, bless her heart, she loves her team. She's so dedicated to whatever the game plan they have, and she follows it to a T. She doesn't care. She's just going to go. If we lose, go in battle and we lose. At least I stuck to the game plan. They have my best interest at heart. That's what we're going to do. Unfortunately for her, in my opinion, I think her corner let her down.
Mm.
I think they let her down because she's more of the person that's more aggressive. She's her hands are a little bit more heavier, so
Yeah.
she's used to being moving forward. And sooner or later, I'm going to catch up to you and I'm going to wear you down. And that's her philosophy. This time, though, it's almost as if they try to get her to be more selective when she was aggressive
Mm-hmm.
and box from the outside. But what we found out is as she was trying to do such, some of her punches were falling short. It's almost as if she wasn't even hitting her opponent at all. And that kind of, it was just a different approach. And Katie Taylor was doing what she needed to do to stay close. And near the end, I think that's where the corner did her, maybe with the strategy, but did her the most disservice. And I'm talking about
They told her she was
Serrano.
winning. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. And she telling her like, "Oh, you got this in the bag." And I'm like, "What fight are you guys watching?"
right, right.
So we get down to round what the last couple rounds, and she's thinking she has it in the bag, just keep moving forward. And on the opposite end, Taylor's corner was like, "Look, we good, but we need to get these last two.
Yeah.
So you need to go after her, tap her, get out, in and out, move, be first, be aggressive. And if you do this, we're gonna close the show and we're gonna walk away. We don't want to take anything for granted. We don't want to leave this up to the judges. And I think that is, if you watch the fight, particularly the last two rounds, that's what you see. Taylor being in, Taylor coming out, Serrano trying to get there, but it's almost like she was confused too. I want to be super aggressive and try to knock her block off, but they told me I need to be patient. And unfortunately, the patience, she ran out of time and she clearly was not landing those punches that would make a difference, I think, amongst the judges.
There were two more fights that night. Green won her fight, and after 20 years getting a championship, we're not going to talk about that fight. We're going to talk about Baumgarten. And I felt that she did not win that fight. She did not do enough to win that fight. You saw her having struggles trying to close the distance and get in where she felt comfortable. And to me, it just seemed like it wasn't her night after taking that long layoff. And the other fighter felt like, hey, I got robbed in this one. I got robbed in this one, and I come over here and I want a fair, decision, and I didn't get one in this fight. And I like Baumgarten. I think she's one of the most special fighters out there as far as women. But I just felt like she didn't do enough to win this fight. Your thoughts?
No, I agree with you wholeheartedly. I think that Jennifer Miranda won that fight. And it was almost as if Baumgartner was slow to get started. And Miranda came in a la Serrano. She just came forward. She wasn't going anywhere. Undefeated fighter as well at the time coming in. So she had nothing to lose. Tough lady from that standpoint. So she had nothing to lose, and she came in with the same attitude. And I think from the standpoint of Baumgartner, I think she was trying to get it going, but it just wasn't working. That was interesting to me. The other thing I found interesting, I'm just going to throw this out there because I said this before, but not trying to pick on anybody because, some people say I'm a novice at this, which is hilarious. With Derek James being in the corner, what I find ironic is certain fighters, like she did not really seem like she was listening to what he said in the corner.
I remember
And
you
maybe
texting me that night. Yep.
she had the rust or something, but it's almost as if even some of the other male fighters, Derek James comes with a game plan, and they didn't do what he asked him to do, what he asked them to do. So I'm saying, does that have to do with the corner, or is it just people being off or whatever from that standpoint? But getting back to your point about Miranda, I thought she won the fight. I think Baumgartner got a gift, and she said she had not been in the ring for a while. But I'm gonna throw something at you real quick because I don't want to get us off task. But when you think about Baumgartner, she got away with one. I say she got a gift. Is there anybody in your brain or your mindset that you can think of that might be her next opponent if you would like to see?
I'm kind of afraid to really kind of put anybody out there, but because of her performance. Now, if she came in and closed the show, I'd put some people out there, but I think she needs a few more tune-up fights to get sharp enough to fight some of the fighters I have in mind. And I don't know if she can fit in the weight class of some of these fighters because I think some of these women are ready to fight, but their weight is uneven weight classes, and I don't know if they can make the weight to fight some of these star fighters in the women's game at this particular point because there's so few women that are out there, and so there are the superstars, but I wouldn't put Baumgarten in with anybody right now that is on that super elite level until she can kind of get her chops back. What do you think?
I agree with that. I agree with that. I will say this. Maybe you give her another fight so she fights somebody that she can just kind of get warmed up again, or get her skills back on point so she's ready to fight on a higher level. But I thought about this fight and I said that's not possible because somebody is so much bigger than the other. But
Yeah.
then I was like, wait a minute, let me evaluate this. And I saw one person that fought. I wanted to see one person fight at like 140. So I saw that Amanda Serrano went to 140 to fight Katie Taylor.
Mm-hmm.
But when you look at it lower, she was at 126 at 126 weight as the number one contender. So Baumgartner fought at 130. So my question is, because Serrano at 130 versus Baumgartner.
Yeah.
And I think that if I'm Serrano, she's still fighting because she's what, 7-time champion and stuff like that too. I think somebody facing somebody like Baumgartner will allow her to really show her greatness.
Mm-hmm.
I think it'll be a solid fight. I think it'll be a money fight, especially with certain people promoting. And I think it's something that Serrano deserves because unfortunately, her losing 3 times in a row to outstanding Taylor is damn good. She's a legend. I think it's time for Serrano to get a little payback so she can show her greatness again. Sometimes when you fight the best or someone of the facsimile of the best, it's hard to get up every time like that, and people look at you some kind of way. But if you're playing Jordan every night, hell, everybody losing to Jordan, right?
Right.
So why not come down a level and play Utah, right, in basketball, and let your person shine? And I would love to see that fight if it's possible. Maybe I'm just throwing it out. We have to call Buddy McGirt, see what he thinks. To see Serrano versus Baumgartner, maybe not right away, at 130, if she can make it, I'm ready, bro. You know me, I'm ready. I'm doing I'm making some calls. I love to see that fight.
Yeah, and our guy was referencing those fights too. One of those fights. So we got to get him on the show. We've been talking about.
Yeah, you gotta get hard. Gotta get hard on.
Yeah, yeah. MMA. There's only one fight I wanted to really talk about with Derek Lewis, and I felt watching the fight last night that the fight was called too early. Some people felt like, Derek Lewis had the guy in trouble. The guy was using the cage to get up. But I felt like you needed to give him about 30 more seconds to see whether or not he was able to fight. And I see what UFC is trying to do. They're trying to really market their star power and people who are really kind of have that magnetic personality. And Derek Lewis does. I mean, he pulled off his pants again. Maybe his balls were hot again. I don't know. But then they asked him, who do you want next? And his wife was in the ring next to him. And he said, I want her next. I've been away from her for 2 weeks. So it's going to be a lot of ground and pound. And I'm like, maybe the UFC needs that kind of star power because you don't have the Ronda Rouseys. You don't have the other fighters that, brought that star power. And they need that one round knockout kind of feel. But I really felt that we needed to see more in that fight. And just not give him the nod because of past kind of situations. Your thoughts about Derek Lewis?
No, I get it. I mean, like you said, I think that UFC/MMA, they need, particularly UFC, they need that star power because it's kind of lacking. We're waiting on Israel to come back, right? He don't know whether or not where his mindset is at times. But
John Jones is coming back.
Until you can get John Jones and the Lioness out of retirement back on the same card, you leave a lot to be desired. You hear about Conor McGregor messing around, but he's getting older. And they're talking about him and Nate Diaz. I mean, that's one of them entertainment things that we just see. They two old dudes fighting over beer or something like that. But with that being said, when you miss that major competitiveness, John Jones being out, and also the Lioness, till that happens, you got to find different ways to make it entertaining and exciting, particularly when you're paying, actually charging pay-per-views. See, that's my problem with UFC. I'm not mad at them, but why the hell would I want to pay for somebody I don't even know? And
Yeah.
they're not showing anything spectacular. All day long, John Jones, the Lioness, and some other folks. Yeah, I got you all day, even the preacher's daughter. Watching her, come out of boxing, but you need something that's going to stick because right now it appears as if, as you said, they come looking for gimmicks to try to keep things afloat as they wait for great fights.
And this segues into what I wanted to talk about, and we mentioned it earlier today, is that my excitement for boxing and MMA is waning a little bit because you kind of see, and you're noticing that professional fighters or former professional fighters are saying, you know what, fight game is really sketchy right now because people are getting paid off. The fixers are in a lot of fights, and they're doing it in our face more frequently now. Because in sports, you see the basketball, you got players that are under investigation right now. Fixing games. You have the NFL. Every year, people are talking about the NFL being fixed. You have the NBA. You have all these different sports, and you knew boxing with the Mr. Gray and and back in the day. But now it seems like it's like they want the star power so much that they will arrange fights to keep the star power and keep the money going. And as a fight enthusiast, it's really kind of turning me off at this particular point. A number of people were texting me about the fight on Friday, a couple of fights on Friday, like, hey man, this doesn't, it stinks. But now it's really, really rank with people kind of getting paid off to kind of not be the fighters that we think they are. And maybe betting has something to do with it, but it's really, really kind of getting to a point where you want to kind of leave it alone, because if it's becoming the WWE where you can kind of predict who's going to fight based on who has the biggest star power, then why waste our time watching?
Yeah, I see that why people would say that, but I want to take a little different poke at it, different look at it from the standpoint of I think when you get into that madness of that mixing entertainment with boxing, and I don't want to point fingers, but you just kind of look at Friday night, we had somebody that was promoting it that's known for some chicanery. It kind of makes you wonder a little bit from that standpoint. And it might seem that way. I don't think it's always like that in that regard. And the only reason why I say that is I think it depends on the situation, on the fighters. Because if we were following that formula, how things worked out Friday night, if we were saying that things were on the man or on the fix, and you and I both discussed this offline, if we thought that was the case all the way through, particularly on Friday, then Amanda Serrano would have won.
Hmm.
She would have won. And clearly she did not win. Now that if you saw that came down where they took it from Katie Taylor, then I'd have been the first person to raise my hand and go, oh damn, this is the fix all the way through. So with that being said, that still gives me a little faith in what's going on. But I also think too that these fighters have to come move forward. And there's always going to be maybe one or two judges that make you go shake your head a little bit, even from the standpoint of certain times where people calling fights like a draw. Like I think was the Shakur fight was a then one boxer guy had to have it as a draw or something like that.
I believe so. I believe so.
Yeah, I think so. And I don't see how you get that. That alone. And we've seen those judges that come in here, you ask yourself, what the hell were they watching? Particularly when one of the other judges had about like a 10-point difference.
Mm-hmm.
So it makes you wonder. Let me say this. I'm hoping that we're not getting the case where it's all about keeping stars up or whatever.
Or let me throw this in real quick.
Sure.
Whoever's bankrolling the fighter, the monies that the people that are sponsoring this has, and my buddy, Luis Ortiz, we were talking about this yesterday, and it was like some of these fighters are getting bankrolled by people that say, hey, I'm paying for you, so you're going to do this, you're going to do that, in order for me to not only make money in your fight, but make money on the back end with betting. And so that's been going on for forever. And so you have people who get into gambling debt, in professional sports, and the folks, the powers that be, like, hey, you can't pay your debt, but here's what you're going to do to make sure I get my money back. So, it's making me, it's looking like that, bro. It's looking like that. Go ahead.
No, you're fine. I can see where you say that. And I want to say allegedly, some people might be looking at Turkey, the promoter, for that, because the people going to Saudi Arabia and he's bankrolling a lot of the major fights right now. And some people don't like the way it's going. And I can see that. People would say, well, I'm bankrolling you. He's bankrolling these guys, and they have to follow according to what he wants their plans going to be. Again, I hope that's not the case, but you look at it from the standpoint we said earlier about Berlanga, right? He's with Oscar De La Hoya before, and then he switches over saying that he needed a better situation. And Andy Lee's guy comes through and takes him down. So I hope that we're just on the cusp of, if there is some chicanery going on, it's not all the way through the sport, because if they do that where it's dictated by the promoter who's putting out the most money and who they think is most popular, it's clearly going to continue to do a disservice to the sport of boxing. But again, the main thing that I'm saying before, when they ranked a certain individual from an entertainment standpoint in boxing, you're doing a disservice, because when certain individuals come through and act like they're boxers, you might be a boxer, but you're nowhere on that level. You're not fighting anybody on that level. You confuse some people.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just because you have somebody that's marketing something real well, a good product, and people want to see them, doesn't mean that it's real boxing.
Yeah.
It's just not, because if it was, you would step up and fight against somebody else. So again, Andre Ward, I could go through a couple of different things. I had some other people, you've heard some other people that were former boxers that said they would step up and fight a certain individual. But I think we need to, for people that really want to see real boxing, we have to continue to ring the bell and remind them of what's real and what's fake, bro.
I don't think people really care at this particular point. It's like a movie that Jordan Peele did. People like the spectacle. They don't really care if it's real or not. And people are infatuated with the spectacle. But when you have professional fighters like Floyd Mayweather accusing folks of being bought out and selling out for these fights to make money, damn the competitiveness. It's about them making the money, walking away with a fat roll in their pocket, and not caring. Like Mike Tyson said, I don't care about my legacy. All the stuff that you did, how can you not care about your legacy? And it's scary. And if it's to that point, then let's just call it what it is and let folks decide whether or not they want to continue to indulge the spectacle. And other folks say, you know what, I'll watch old tapes of fighters back in the yesteryear and get my kicks off of that, instead of watching some of the stuff that we're watching now and wasting our time.
Wow, that's huge what you just said there. And I do agree that some people may watch for the spectacle. And I think those are the newer boxing fans, because they'll watch Netflix. I'm still trying to get accustomed to watching boxing on Netflix. That just don't resonate with me. Okay. I'm just saying, maybe until they prove me wrong. They had better broadcast this time than they did the first time. But
these were test runs, in my opinion.
Yeah. Things got a little better. They had a little bit more better talent to actually help them through. Bringing on Layla Ali was masterful. I thought that was amazing from that standpoint, because she fits right into the groove what they're trying to do with the ladies. But on the other side, though, I still think there are people that want to see real boxing. I believe that. I think certain people still want to see that really want to see good fights. So I think there's a split. That's why I said that the more and more that you allow certain people to try to act as if they are real boxers, it confuses some people. But I think there are some people that do want to see the fights that we saw. We want to see Shakur Stevenson. versus a Williams Zepeda, right? And then the more and more that it gets outrageous, right? And I'm gonna throw something out at you. When you hear something that's being presented to you, or they're trying to show it to the fans as outrageous as it can be, a la a certain individual versus a Tank Davis, that would outweigh them by like 50 pounds, which is not really feasible from boxing standpoint. It's a spectacle, as you said. It's entertainment. So as fans, and particularly as the media has to push back and go, what the hell y'all talking about? You can't just get all excited. Well, he said he's gonna fight this guy. There's no way. How are you gonna fight a guy? You want Tank Davis does not want to move to 140. And you're gonna fight a guy that sits 190 plus?
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
Are we that damn dense
It's the
as
spectacle.
boxing fans?
It's the big
That you're
name,
gonna,
and it's the spectacle.
but still, 50 pounds,
Yeah, yeah,
that's the damn circus.
yeah,
It's the big strong man versus the little dude. Come on, bro. I mean, to even entertain it without thinking it's a damn spectacle. It's almost like, do you remember when they used to have what, Muhammad Ali versus the kickboxer, or
or the
Superman
wrestler.
versus
Yeah,
just some shit don't make no. It's fantasy. And the media, I think it's their duty to point this out instead of letting people buy into it. And I think that is the demise that has happened to that's helping trying to bring down the demise of boxing from the social media aspect. People want to see a damn clown show. And that, nah, bro. I mean, come on. I'm not. I can't even when they said when I told you way back when we started talking about boxing on this show, I told you there's a difference between the damn clown show and the circus and real boxing. And
yeah,
some of this stuff does not compute.
right. So before we get out of here, there's some big fights coming up this weekend, man. Run them off, brother.
Yeah, a lot of good stuff going on. We look at the July 19th edition. We're going to start where I know you are most comfortable and you enjoy. The little man, Usyk, is versus Daniel Dubois for the rematch. That's coming up. That's going to be killer. We're going to be looking at that for sure. Also, the fighter of the old man in the sea, or the old man in the Philippines trying to come back for a title run. Manny Pacquiao versus Mario Barrios, also on the 19th. Another fight that's coming up that we really want to see, I want to see, because it's probably one of the most toughest and the most uh, violent fights we've seen in a long time. The rematch between Sebastian Fundora versus Tim Tszyu. That's going to be coming up on the 19th as well. And also we have Jesse Ben Rodriguez will be putting his title on the line against Cafe. And it's just, I think we also have Isaac Cruz, I'm sorry, Gary Russell Jr. is fighting as well. So if we are lucky to get the quality that we have from like the Shador Stevenson on some of these fights. I hope that it is nonstop action. We don't have to worry about a lot of drama. We get what we're looking for, because boxing fans deserve quality fights, particularly after some of the spectacles, and I'll say that we were provided during May weekend and all that other stuff. They deserve, and I'll say, because I'm a boxing fan to a point, we deserve better from the professionals in the sport.
Yeah, and I'm looking forward to a lot of these fights, and we'll see. We'll come back next week. I know they announced some new fights. I want to see if they are very official or really legit. They're talking about the Monster fighting the same weekend of Canelo Crawford on that Sunday. So I want to make sure that we get that all squared away, because we'll be there. I don't know if they're going to be in Vegas, but we'll be in Vegas at that particular point. But yeah, we're looking forward to this weekend. Also, 2 big weekends of great fights. He's Icewater, I'm Puma, and this is Fight Game.